I was always one of those people that kind of had a lot of order. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew from the early age that I wanted to be a teacher. I knew in grade school that I wanted to attend Concordia University in Seward. And so I kind of just had my path all laid out for me. And then just about 5 years ago, everything started to change. We were about 5 weeks into being pregnant. I started not feeling very well and didn't really know what was going on. Called the doctors and they just said to, keep an eye on it. There's nothing that we can really do. And shortly after that, we realized that I miscarried the baby. And that was very difficult because we had just told our family and had the joys of finding out that we were pregnant. That's when the world started to shake. Everything had gone well. The plan that I had laid out and that I thought that we were going to take started to change. And after that, it's kind of a little bit of a blur because it's just really hard to be able to go through that and explain what that feels like. We went to the doctor's office and they tell you a little bit about what to expect, but emotionally, it's not what you think. And so we had support from our family, we had support from people at church, but it was just hard. At that time, I didn't know very many people that had gone through that and was kind of timid about reaching out. So it was a very hard time. The next year was kind of just going through the motions. The hardest thing at that point, honestly, was coming to church. Not because I lost faith in God. I knew He was still there. I knew that He had a plan because of all the emotions that it brought to it. There were several times where we would be in church and I just would start crying. Certain songs would come up and it was really hard to just sing. And so there were times where I just opted not to go because it was just so hard. And being around people and everyone was so kind and gentle, but just not being able to talk about it. Shortly after that year had passed, we started talking about the possibility of becoming pregnant again. And so we talked to a doctor and they recommended a few different medications and things, and that again was very hard. It takes a toll on you emotionally, and during this whole time we continued to pray and just were curious about why our prayers were not being answered. And sometimes it's so hard to pray because you have your own intentions without thinking that there might be a greater plan or not knowing why the answer is the way it is. So a couple years ago, we sat in the office and they laid out the plan for us. This is what we would need to do. This is what it would look like each month. These are the times that you need to come in for the visits and all of the appointments, and just completely got overwhelmed. I remember the first class I went to and going out of class and just sitting in my car and crying. I had no idea what I was getting into. So we started on that plan of the medications and going in for visits and the IUIs. And the first IUI, we decided not to go all the way through with that one. And we stopped and decided to take a little break. The next IUI happened shortly before Christmas, and we found out right before Christmas that it did not take. We tried one more time with an IUI, and that one didn't work either. So a year later, after all of the fertility treatments and the medicine and the emotional roller coaster that it is, we would have to start the testing all over again. At this time, we didn't know if we wanted to keep going with it. Maybe there was a bigger plan that we weren't seeing. And so we decided to stop with all of that. And so we have looked at adoption and fostering, and still we're not quite sure the direction. The hardest thing, I think, through all of this is the feeling of going through it alone, when in all reality you're not going through it alone, but just that emptiness feeling. And what I thought my plan was is completely different. The things that I thought that I would get to experience, I might not get to experience all of those. And so for me, that's the hardest thing. But the thing that brings me through is knowing that God is in control. And I'm somebody that loves to be in control. I love to know what's going on. I love to know the direction. And so I think that is something that he is helping teach me through this, is that he is in control. I cannot imagine what our faith would be like if we didn't have this struggle. It might be more surface, but it's so much more than that. God has shown his love, and that we can endure and we can rise above those things that are difficult. And so where our story goes from here, I have no idea, but I know that we are able to continue and to keep going and to have strength because of the Lord and how he continues to wrap us in his love and comfort us each and every day.
My name is Sara, and this is where my story met his.